Tonight's lecture will be on Louis Berkhof's most important conceptions of the image of God in man. Um, Louis Berkhof's most important conceptions of the image of God in man. The soul or spirit of humans, that is, in the qualities of simplicity, spirituality, and invisibility, and immortality. Um, that's what we mean by the soul. We are not many spirits in one body, but one spirit in one body. We are spiritual beings able to communicate within and by our spirits. Our spirit is unseen and persists after physical death. So when we're talking about image bearing, we say, well, humans have souls. That's part of what it means to be in the image of God. We can kind of communicate in spirit, by our spirits. We have a spirit who lives on after death. At least that's what the Christian theists will believe. That's what we believe here. We bear also God's image in our cognitive and physical, our not physical, our psychical faculties. We are rational and moral intellectuals with a will of our own. Now, I mean, Berkhof is a modern theologian, so a lot of what he's saying is that to what differentiates us from the rest of the animals is that we have these things. Now, I don't know. I question it, and some of you might think this is funny, but whether or not animals have souls, I don't know if it can be proven. There's that verse in Ecclesiastes 3, I think, where Solomon, the writer's like, I don't know if animals have souls or not. So I feel like there's so much more of this creation that we aren't understanding and don't understand, even about our own minds and cognitive faculties and what it means to be conscious. Consciousness is it's an area of study that I think it's not very well known, just because up until recently we couldn't really know or define even what consciousness was. So if you are interested in that, by the way, there's a guy named J.P. Moreland. You probably know the name, but he writes a book on consciousness that is way over my head, too difficult for me to grasp, but I'm not a scientist by any means. So for you science people out there, J.P. Moreland, it's a book on consciousness, for what it's worth. Next, we bear his image with our intellectual and moral integrity, which is manifested in our arrival at true knowledge, our thirst for righteousness, justice, and holiness. That's found in Ephesians 4:24 and Colossians 3:10. Those are your proof texts for that statement. With our knowledge of God, we were created to be in fellowship with Him, living our lives of worship and service to Him. So we bear our image in our body as well, not as a material substance, but God is spirit. Even the risen Christ is the body, or is a spirit walking through walls, appearing, disappearing. He's obviously, his body's not like ours. It's kind of a renewed body, which is spiritual. But I think our body, our image, that is our image bearing, we bear our image in our bodies as the organ or appendage of the soul. Within the body, the soul exercises dominion over the rest of creation. So without the body, the soul, I guess, possibly couldn't do those things. But I know that, at least in the reality that we have right now, the physical body is that organ of the soul, that the soul acts and the body does, and is able to act accordingly to what the soul demands. Next, we bear his image in our dominion over the earth. As stated above, we're like God in that he created us in his likeness. But again, this is a term that's just overused, and it's kind of just we're image bearers. But it's like, what does that mean? But I think, but when we observe Jesus, we observe him as king over all, and ruling over the heavenly hosts, and we do likewise, right? Especially in the New Testament when Jesus comes and you know replaces, or I should say, just kicks Satan out, and gives us the throne. Satan is no longer enthroned, but now we are ruling with Christ over his kingdom. And notice he does not make angels kings and queens over the earth, but he gives us, that is men and women, authority to rule and subdue the earth. He's commanded us to do this. This is our kingdom. We have authority to make something out of it, to build it, to tear down, to take away from. We have the authority to do those things. We have the authority to eat what's good, and even to command angels to leave our presence, to be silent before us. 1 Corinthians 6, that's Paul saying that we're going to judge angels, so we have authority somehow over these very powerful beings. Possibly a theme here that's close to God's heart is that the greater serving the lesser. That we find that in the Old Testament and the New Testament. So possibly, this is that truth that the greater will be serving the lesser here. But I don't know, think about that. But realize too, though, that this authority has been given to us. We don't have authority just in and of ourselves, but it's God's authority that he has given to us. Makes me think of a verse in Luke 10 where he's saying, don't his disciples come back and say, even the angels submit to us, and he says, well, that's cool. I like that. That's good. That's what we're all about here. But don't let it get to your heads, because God's the authority. Just be happy that you're not, that you don't share the same fate. So, all of these things I just said are just an introduction to what it means to be human. And they tell the beginnings of what it means to be fully human, or completely human instead of merely human. That's kind of what we're trying to get at. Next section, the practical implications of image bearing. Actually, I'm going to pause and then get to the next video.